Ebenezer. And I got to thinking about that. And I started looking at this song, and I got to tell you, I think this song, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, could be called David's song. And I found a copy of it on YouTube, and I downloaded it from YouTube. The quality is not real good, but the message is there. So I want you to listen to it and hear David's life in this song. grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Hear David's heart in that? Prone to wonder, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, and take and seal it for thy courts above. And that could have been David's life song, and I think it's my life song, and I feel that way about it when I hear it. Well, to understand the world in which David was born, we have to go back about 40 years before his birth, and back to 1 Samuel chapter 8. Listen to this passage.
Chapter 8. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as judges for Israel. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abijah, and they served at Beersheba. But his sons did not walk in his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain, and accepted bribes and perverted justice. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. They said to him,
You are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have.
But when they said,
Give us a king to lead us,
this displeased Samuel. So he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord told him,
Listen to all that the people are saying to you. It is not you they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king, as they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods. So they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly, and let them know what the king who will reign over them will do.
So, God let them have exactly what they wanted, which was what? A king, and his name was Saul. The man they chose was Saul. Saul was tall, dark, and handsome, which is so often the way people choose their kings. And they go for somebody who looks good, and they did in this case because Saul was just exactly that. And David was born about 10 years after Saul became king, but things weren't going too well with King Saul. What was happening? Do you recall? They were fighting with the Philistines, but Saul's personal temperament and attitude began to change. He would often have fits and spells when he was dark and moody and fearful, and seemed to have all kinds of phobias and mistreated the people around him. Frederick Owen, who wrote Abraham to the Middle East Crisis, said at this particular time the people were on a long drift from God. The people of Israel were on a long drift from God, and that's what was happening. And then God intervened again through the prophet Samuel. Over in 1 Samuel chapter 13, Samuel said to Saul, You've not kept the command the Lord God gave you. If you had, he would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him leader of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's commands. It's interesting to me that God chooses men, and this is a generic man. God chooses men and women. In fact, if you go back and look through all of history, God hasn't used and doesn't use methods or systems or plans or organizations. When God accomplishes his purpose in his work, he always chooses a man or a woman. In this case, he was choosing a man. And then there's that phrase, after God's own heart. Well, what an extraordinary phrase that is. What an astonishing description that is of anybody. Would it surprise you that more was written about David than any other person in the Old Testament? It's really an interesting, fascinating thing. There are 14 chapters about Abraham. There are 14 chapters about Joseph. There are 11 chapters about Jacob, 10 chapters about Elijah. Guess how many chapters there are about David? I don't expect you to know this, so take a stab. 30. Good guess. 66.
That's my next guess.
66 chapters about David, and 59 references to David in the New Testament.